Kyrie Irving update? Because we talked about him last week a lot, but I think something else popped out this week. Is that right?
He said something.
What do you
Go
say?
on.
He posted on Instagram. I didn't read the whole fucking thing because once I saw that many characters, I ain't doing it.
Dude.
But
Too many paragraphs.
it was way too many paragraphs. And like, at least he wasn't doing the Cam Newton thing where he like types with all the symbols and shit.
How long does that take Cam Newton, by the way? Like,
I'm trying to figure that out. But that shit's crazy to me.
He might have his own, like, you can switch it from like Spanish to English. He might just have his own
keyboard.
Keyboard, that's what it is.
Well, if he does, he needs to spend more time working with an agent to get himself on a team and not fucking doing that bullshit. But all right, whatever. But basically, Kyrie he's come out that what we heard on the phone call is accurate. That he's basically saying that they don't need to play because of the fact that it's not because of COVID. He's saying that they shouldn't play because of the protests for George Floyd and not going back. And I was right; it was Dwight Howard because I broached that up the last episode that backed him up. And now what's happening?
Bradley.
And Andrew Bradley. There's a few guys that have backed him up on that.
And Lou Williams.
Yep.
But Andrew Bradley.
Avery Bradley.
Oh, Avery Bradley. Isn't he play
basketball player? Yeah, he plays. I think he plays for the Lakers now.
Oh,
I don't know, but it's But now there's also been the back and forth that's happening in the media. So like Stephen A. Smith had his take, Charles Barkley had his take, Kendrick Perkins definitely had his take.
Kendrick, man, what is he doing?
What's Kendrick doing?
Do you agree with what Kendrick, like with all the shit he was saying?
What'd he say?
He equated it to saying like, I mean, he was just basically doing a bunch of yelling and saying how like Kyrie, like he lacks leadership and shit, like because of this reason.
Oh,
he said that Kyrie is the distraction.
Well, I mean, this is a bad. I mean, no, this is the perfect way to put it. With Kyrie, it's kind of the boy who cried wolf thing, in that he's been such a distraction so many times on so many different teams. This time, I think he's right. But
and a lot of other players think he's right too.
That's why KD went for Kendrick's throat.
That's why. But I can't.
They don't like each other though.
I know they haven't liked each other since the Oklahoma City. So.
But it's the boy who cried wolf thing. You've been a distraction so many times in the past. Why should we listen to you this time? Well, if you listen to him, you realize that he's correct. Huh?
The players are listening.
No, but that's what I think that's Kendrick's point. Kendrick's just an idiot.
Kendrick Perkins does not know. Here's the thing. I want to like Kendrick Perkins. I've always wanted to like Kendrick Perkins. The more he speaks on the media, the more I'm disliking him. But it's just I stand firm, maybe not as firm as I was last week. When I was last week, as far as thinking that it is a legitimate way that you can protest, as far as like my fear as far as going back to normal. I'm still kind of rocking that mentality to a certain degree. But after hearing what Charles Barkley, Stephen A. Smith, and all those guys talk, which is why everybody's talking about Kyrie having this basically this bias towards like certain things, or the reason he has his argument. The same way I could say almost all the talking heads on TV have a bias that they want more sports to talk about to keep themselves paid. But that's just me. But it's like, I think the only way this works is if you have – I still think that what this has shown more than anything is there is a crisis of leadership in the NBA. I want to hear from LeBron more. I don't know what LeBron's doing behind the scenes.
Wait, what do you mean?
If the NBA was at a particular point in time where they were about to roll this stuff out, and now you have a contingent of NBA players that are about to follow Kyrie Irving, who has the track record that he has, that means that they didn't have enough people on the other side championing the fact that they were going to come back and get enough people on board. If you're going to run away with this plan, you need to have more of a consensus going around. Whether that's that the NBA didn't have enough coaches doing that, making sure they got a good pulse of the players. If you didn't have some of the top athletes or top stars doing that. I don't know if it's the Chris Pauls and the LeBrons are only talking amongst themselves compared to actually reaching out and talking to everybody to see where it is they are. Because Kyrie, knowing his track record, like you said, Ryan, knowing Kyrie's track record, if I'm an NBA player, I'm taking everything he says with a grain of salt. The fact that he can have that much of a thought process and then get people to change their minds on something speaks to either the messaging being extremely strong or Kyrie being able to do something.
I don't know if he had them change their mind, but a lot of talk that I've heard was that a lot of players were already skeptic of doing this shit anyway, and they were just afraid to
Don't talk about the Corona stuff is going to be something that everybody's kind of talked about, right?
No, I'm saying like they were scared of talking about not playing.
Yeah, well, and honestly,
That's leadership.
If I was in their position, the leadership would be, don't let them know our next move. If we're gonna do this, it shouldn't be on
it
sports.
is disruption.
It shouldn't be on Sports Center before we decide to make this decision as a unified group.
That's my thing.
And I really hope that that's the way this is going. And like I've had this discussion actually with a couple of my buddies at work, is that if you, I'm very surprised, and I'm being completely sarcastic right now, that the NBA had a plan or came together with most of a plan to get restarted before the MLB. Because if you hear, Mike Trout, the number one player in the country, and Rob Manfred, the commissioner, don't like each other. They don't talk on the phone. The MLB doesn't try and make their players into stars. Like, Mike Trout is the LeBron of baseball, and yet if he wasn't Mike Trout, he's in Los Angeles, but like a lot of people might not know who Mike Trout is. Everybody knows who LeBron is.
He hasn't won anything.
Exactly, and it doesn't matter. He's still one of the best players ever to play the game. Yeah. But if on the flip side, rather, is that Adam Silver and the players, they say they text back and forth. Like they have open conversations with the top players. And that's why I think it might be that they are not talking to the press. They're not getting their word out. Maybe they're talking with the commissioner, or maybe they're just talking amongst themselves. But they're trying to come up, hopefully, with some sort of plan internally before it goes out. Because once it goes out, it's probably going to be a collective thing. Once LeBron and KD and Kyrie and like Big Ten are all in, it's kind of hard for the rest not to follow suit.
I disagree. The only reason I disagree is that once again, when I talk about the leadership aspect of things, is that even if that was the point, then why don't you have the LeBrons and everybody talking to the other guys saying, hey, this is what we're working on. We just need everybody to keep quiet. You at least have that conversation.
Would Kyrie also ignore that and tweet it anyway?
I don't know, but you wouldn't have this rush of other players that might have been, like James was saying, either afraid to say something, or that have this, or that do feel this way and they are saying something about it. Like, my thing is that if they are going to do this, like what your guys' argument was last week, is that you need to use this platform. It's the same argument I heard from Charles Barkley. It's the same argument I heard from Stephen A. Smith. I need to know how. And I think that's what Kyrie and everybody's at, is like, if you're going to do this, okay, how? This has got to be more than T-shirts. This has got to be more than us doing a knee. This has got to be more than us playing some sappy fucking commercial before the game starts. Yeah. How are we going to do this and do it the right way?
So maybe
that's what Lou Williams said too.
And just maybe all the top players got together and they were like, Kyrie, you're a dumbass. You would be the person to say stuff. So we're going to make you the mouthpiece for the rest of us.
No. There's too many players that are backing Kyrie.
No, and that could have been the point. They just decided
you're giving them way too much credit other than what it is on the surface level.
I know.
I know what you're doing.
Also, there's another aspect that we didn't talk about before, right? It's the young up and coming stars like Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum and players like that who are up for max contracts soon. Mm-hmm. Now they're worried about if they get sick at this juncture, how that's going to affect their money going forward.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That's the Blake Snell argument. If I get sick, I may never be elite again.
There's that.
Just in terms of the amount of money that Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell are supposed to get fairly soon can be hampered completely just by catching it. This one season.
It shuts down people's lung functions forever.
Yeah, you could be at 80% lung function, and if you're an elite athlete,
and that could be the max contract.
There's also the fact that if the players decide they wouldn't be able to play, from what I understand, the owners could rip up the CBA.
These are all risks. I'm sure that they are calculated.
I doubt that the owners would want that PR battle. Number one, I get that. And plus, if we're looking at any of the major sports leagues in the country, the most woke would be the NBA, and it's not even close. The power they give the players, the fact that the players are always involved in the conversation, the fact that Adam Silver has done, for the most part, a really good job as far as being a part of everything. He's never criticized or chastised the players for speaking out about the things that they're passionate about. Not to mention, if I'm not mistaken, the NBA also is donating a bunch of money as far as helping out African-American communities across the country. Like, they're doing a lot. But that being said, I just want to know, if we're going to decide to do this, how are we going to properly use our platform? And it doesn't seem as though those conversations are happening as seriously as they need to, as much as everybody's just saying you need to be able to play to use your platform. But if there's not a cohesive message behind that,
Well, it may just be that they don't agree, but they don't have a plan yet in how to go forward. And I'm assuming that's what it is, because LeBron's been very vocal on social media forever.
not about this though.
No, and that
About
may
this,
be
I
why.
haven't heard LeBron talk about this.
That may be why.
No, I'm talking about the like Kyrie and what's possibly happening.
That,
as far as the
but
NBA.
that may be
Kyrie's still,
why.
like, LeBron's still active in the community.
Yeah.
Do not get me wrong about LeBron. I do not think LeBron is doing. This is one thing I don't want anybody to think I'm saying. Is that if LeBron decides that he wants to play, I don't think LeBron's trying to be selfish. LeBron has been there to help people out, without question. I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing by us and them using the platform the correct way. I
am 100% sure that LeBron not being vocal on social media about this doesn't mean he's just sitting around not doing anything about it. He's coming up with something.
But it goes back to my point last week. I still don't think that regardless of how long they think about it, nothing will be as powerful as not playing. That's my take.
And maybe he's trying to get the gears running on that without being public about it. Because if he's public about it, it's the number one thing on SportsCenter. It's the number one thing on Fox News. It's the number one thing on CNN. It's going to be everywhere.
As far as your conspiracy theories today, that's probably the closest one that I have to actually making sense.
Lou was talking about, remember how you said, like, you wanted a plan? And that was the same question he brought up, saying, like, okay, are we, like, what are we going to do? Is it going to be commercials, like, in between games?
Right.
What can we do that's more impactful than just not playing and still being out there at the protest?
And I'm sure that's what they're looking at. What I said last week was take a hard look at both and figure out which is the best, one for your health and two for your message. And whichever one you determine is the best. And I'm sure that's what they're doing right now.
Is that a change of heart? Is that a change of heart from you, James? Because I thought last week you were more on the other side.
I was 50-50, but like thinking like Lou, I really respect like the shit that Lou Williams says. He's like
I was about to say Lou
legend.
Williams.
Yeah, Lou Williams. He's like a legend.
Could have been Lou Bega. I don't know.
Nah,
Shut the fuck up.
One thing that he said that was very important was just the fact that, okay, if they come up with a plan to say like, we'll give you like guys like commercials like during the game and like halftime part and then like pregame and then exit interviews. He was like, well, that kind of mutes a shit ton of people because the press only wants to hear the stars. What about the dude that's like the fifth or sixth guy on the bench that has a really like bright idea or something like that? You're not going to hear him. Like you think about like Malcolm Brogdon, like leading a protest or something like that down, I think it was in Atlanta with like Trae Young. Like if you look at the media after a game, they're not really rushing to talk to him unless he does something crazy.
Right.
So Lou has another point there.
Is ESPN going to carry every single interview? I know that what I saw from Bradley Beal and John Wall out there in Washington yesterday was more powerful than anything I saw anybody do on TV before or after a basketball game, with them actually being out there in the streets with people, letting them know their stories. Like that to me is like, when I'm looking at the situation, I'm like, shit, if I'm the NBA players, maybe I'm looking at how we take the time that we would have spent during a season of being out there in the streets and doing something else. Or if like, so that's where I'm at, is like, protest or doing commercials and everything else is something we've already done and we're still here.
Yeah.
Like that's so like maybe more of it takes you over the edge, maybe, but it's like to me it's you got to do what you can to disrupt it. And like I'm for making people upset. I'm for making people feel uncomfortable.
Well,
I think that usually spurs change.
imagine being so close to actually starting the playoffs, and then at the last moment, everybody says no.
And then they just
That could be it.
mass walkout.
What has been my wet dream?
They show up for the first game, and instead of playing, they just all take their jerseys off and fuck off.
What I've been saying for years, what I would love to see is you had two NFL teams the day of the Super Bowl say we're not playing. That to me would just be that's you need that. Like maybe it is like if they the night before everything was gonna go down, they were just like, yeah, the players decided we're not gonna go.
Tom Brady walks out by himself.
After the video of all the NFL players, and they had Patrick Mahomes in that video, that's like the next day, Goodell put out a statement.
Oh yeah,
they couldn't do it
because he if he does that, like he's gonna be the face of the NFL for the next 15, 20 years. Sad to say.
And he drew his line.
I'm glad that he is, but I just wish it wasn't with the Chiefs. Other than that, he's great.
I mean,
yeah, y'all gonna lose a lot of games.
Yeah, to them.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. When you have Patrick Mahomes being the absolute, he is the face of the NFL going forward. And him taking that stand, he drew a line right there in the sand, said, this is where I'm at. You're either with me or you're not with me. This is where I'm at. And he's been posting the videos, and like his girl who's white, she's down with everything. Like it's been powerful seeing what Patrick Mahomes has been doing.
Is it Mahomes or Kyler that has also the baseball contract?
Kyler. Yeah. He got drafted by the A's, I think. I think it was the A's.
Interesting.